Hi, Dawn Finn here. Step 1 of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm going to read the steps from the 12 by 12. Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And the first sentence is, who cares to admit complete defeat? Of course, none of us really want to admit defeat. None of us want to admit our powerlessness. None of us really want to say, hey, I'm weak, and we're trying to be perfect in an imperfect world. And we're trying to hide behind a facade. But this is really the cornerstone to consciousness. This is the cornerstone to shifting, and accepting that powerlessness becomes your greatness. So I'm not going to quote it exactly, but Jung stated that without pain, there is no consciousness. And for many of us in recovery, there's a lot of pain we're hiding from. There's a lot of pain that we don't want to feel. And so by walking through, at least for me, walking through that pain has allowed me to grow and become the woman I am today. There was a time early on in AA when I heard people introduce themselves and say, I'm so-and-so, a grateful alcoholic, and I thought they were nuts. Hands down, cuckoo. Who would be grateful? But about a year of sobriety, right around that birth date time, I started to realize why their gratitude for being an alcoholic. The 12 steps offered a way of looking at life, a way of kind of reorganizing my childhood, reorganizing my adult thoughts. It was a great way of not letting my thoughts control me. But the first step I had to do was admit that my life was unmanageable due to drugs and alcohol. And I started drinking in 3rd grade. And from what I can tell and stories that I've heard, I was actually had beer in my bottle. And today's were like, whoa. But when I was born, some of that was kind of typical, I guess. I don't know for sure. However, what I do know is my father ended up being a recovery junkie, and he died, and he had 30-some years of sobriety. And so I do know my parents' relationship was quite tumultuous. And what I was running from was the traumas of the childhood. A survivor of sexual abuse, a survivor of watching domestic abuse, a survivor of child abuse. And now that I've said survivor, I do want you to know that I am more than a survivor. I'm a thriver. And those things were just opportunities for me to grow. And that's hard to say when you've lived in that pain and your heart has been hard, and you know, you use a lot of drugs and alcohol to numb you. And if I go back to high school, I think of all the unmanageability, the situations that I got into, the using that I did, and what people said behind my back, and how I let that control me. And it's taken me all this time to figure out, and I shouldn't say all this time. It's been in the last 7 years that I've really come into myself, that I've really come into understanding what Jung meant through the pain. Without pain, there is no consciousness. So the unmanageability, you know, I was in trouble with the law. I wasn't a very good mother. I put my children in situations that they shouldn't have been in. I passed out whenever I went out with friends because I didn't know how to stop. There was a lot of unmanageability and poverty. I mean, it was in and off of welfare. It was working. So I used to be a dancer. I even worked with Prince at some time. And he came to me after an audition one day and told me, "You're a fabulous dancer, Dawn, but you cannot come back here until you get sober." So I have these little pieces of memory of how my life became unmanageable. Wow. When I ended up in treatment, it took me a year of outpatient treatment before I could even, it was about 9 months, I think, before I could even clear my head. I gripped at AA meetings. I was holding on so tight, wondering when life would frickin' begin and this pain would end. And it's listening to those who've been before me, listening to their wisdom, their strength, their ideas, and their journey, which allowed me to open my mind. And it took a while, but I guarantee it does open. I guarantee that sitting at those meetings and listening and thinking through, what is that person sharing with me? I don't have to think about Jane or John, just their message. And that's part of the journey. I guarantee that the unmanageability of life gets better. And then there's different things. But there are the promises of AA. And I will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. It is a together program. These 12 steps help you to build a team for sobriety, a team for work. It gives you the foundation for community. We have been so wrapped up in ourselves and the meanness of all of our using that now I can think about the greater good while working on me. And to me, that is the best message of hope there ever can be. Thank you. Keep looking for step 2. Have a good day, everybody.